Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow practice with me, Oceana. In today's episode, I'll be guiding you through a forward fold focused intermediate level sequence. So realistically, because it's forward folds, we will be focusing on lengthening the muscles in the back body. We'll also be strengthening the muscles in the front body to a slightly lesser degree. And because it's an intermediate sequence, I do have certain expectations of you. I will expect you to know what the sort of most common yoga postures are called. I will expect you to know how to get into and out of them. And I will also expect you to know how to do a vinyasa and how to modify it for your needs. Now, if none of that is, or some of that is not the case for you, then I would advise you to go back to one of the two previous weeks where I covered a beginner's flow and a sort of improver level flow of forward folds, and I'll link those up here somewhere so that you can easily find them. Even if you need to repeat them, honestly, I think repetition is such a sort of hidden gem of yoga practice, because really it's going to get you to your goals a lot faster than sort of throwing yourself into postures that you're not ready for. Now, in terms of the sequence, the only real prop you may wish to have is a blanket or block that you can slide under your sitting bones in the seated postures. And we will be starting in a standing position, mountain pose at the front of our mat. So when you're ready, join me there, Yogi. Once you find your way to the front of your mat, make sure that your feet are hip distance and send equal weight into both feet. Create a sense of lengthening through the crown of your head and spin your palms to face forward. From here, we'll move through a few rounds of chandra namaskar, moon salutation. So lift the arms all the way out and overhead. Come into a gentle back bend, lifting through the center of your chest. As you exhale, hinge forward, reaching the center of your chest forward first as you exhale to fold into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale, lengthen the spine halfway, roll the shoulders back. Exhale, plant the hands to the floor, step the left foot back. Bring the back knee down into your low lunge as you inhale, engage the legs and lift again through the center of the chest into a gentle back bend, Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Right hand to the right hip as you inhale, left fingertips reach all the way up and overhead, lengthening through left side of the body. Spin both hands down to frame your front foot. Tuck the back toes under and step your way all the way back into your downward facing dog. Exhale here. Bring the big toes to touch at the back of the mat as you inhale, left leg lifts into a three-legged dog. Exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest and then step or shimmy the foot forward. Right knee to the floor. Engage the legs as you inhale into your low lunge, second side. Exhale, bring your left hand to the left hip, right arm reaches up and over into the side bend on the second side. Frame your front foot, tuck the back toes under, exhale, step forward, Uttanasana. Inhale to lengthen the spine halfway and exhale to fold back into the legs. Soft knees as you inhale, reverse swan dive your way all the way up to standing into your standing back bend. Lift through the chest and then lead with the chest as you exhale to fold back down for the second side. Inhale to lengthen the spine halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to plant the hands down. From here, step your right foot back into low lunge, bring the back knee down. Engage the legs as you inhale, lift the chest, lift the arms. From here, slightly different, so we'll bring the right hand to the inside of the front foot, lift the left arm up into a simple twist. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Exhale to swim the top hand down and step your way all the way back into downward facing dog. Exhale. Big toes touch at the back of the mat. Right leg lifts into three-legged dog. Exhale, draws the knee into the chest for tiger's curl. Step or shimmy the foot forward. Bring the back knee down and untuck the back toes. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, bring your left hand to the inside of the front foot. Right arm reaches up into that simple twist. We tuck under the back toes and lift the back knee. Top hand swims down as you exhale, back foot steps forward into your standing forward bend. Inhale, lengthens the spine, halfway lift. Exhale to fold back in. Soft knees as you inhale, reverse swan dive all the way back up to standing. Maybe find that very gentle standing back bend. Exhale to release the hands down by your side, Tadasana. From here, shift your weight into your right foot. Draw the left knee into the chest and flex the toes towards the shin. As you exhale, press the hands and the foot away from you into Hasta Padangusthasana variation. Hold it there for a moment and then float the foot and the arms back, coming into Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. Slowly start to hinge a little bit further forward than you normally would into a standing split. You can bring the hands underneath your shoulders and point your left toes. You could bind your right hand behind the right calf and lift a little bit higher through your left foot. Maybe if you want to take this into a more challenging balance variation, you could make your left fingertips light, maybe even bind the left hand behind the calf as well. And we stay just for our final few rounds of breath here. Really reaching and pressing through the top heel, lifting it towards the front of the mat. Very gently here, bringing the top foot down into a runner's lunge at the back of the mat. The hands frame your front foot. Press into your hands and back foot to retract your right foot all the way up and back into a three-legged dog. Keep your shoulders in one line, spin the inner elbows forward, and then bend your top knee to let the foot dangle behind you in split dog. Let the right hip open. As you exhale, draw the right knee in towards the chest. Bring the shoulders on top of your wrists into tiger's curl. As you inhale, release the knee to the floor in a little variation of pigeon pose. Open the chest, draw the shoulder blades together at the back of the body, lift the gaze up. As you exhale, again, we're going to retract the knee into our tiger's curl, really pressing the floor away. Inhale, release the knee down. We'll do that one final time. As you exhale, lift the knee off, press as much as you can into the floor, and then inhale, release the knee down. Now, option one for pigeon pose is to stay here in this variation. You could come really high onto your fingertips. You could walk your back foot a little bit further away from you so that you're really working into this back psoas muscle at the front of your leg. Otherwise, if you want to do full pigeon, we're going to gently lift off the floor so that we can swivel our right foot forward, so that we're sort of pointing the right toes towards the left wrist. And we can untuck the back toes so that we come deeper into the position. Of course, if you feel like you would like to prop yourself up, then you can do that by supporting yourself underneath your right hip. But we will take this into an active stretch. So from here, with our right toes very actively flexing back towards the shin bone, we're going to draw the front shin towards the back knee, and we get a little bit of a lift by engaging the muscles around the glutes and the hips. And from here, we could either still be on fingertips, but if you want to take a little bit further, palms touch in front of the chest. As much as you can, you're rolling your back hip forward, front hip, your right hip draws back. And staying for our last few rounds of breath here. Really actively working into our active range of motion. And when you're ready, release the hands to the floor. Allow yourself to swivel all the way onto your sitting bones. And we'll sort of vaguely be facing the back of the mat. Now here, definitely useful, especially if your spine is rounding in any way, shape or form, to support ourselves with the blanket rolled up underneath our sitting bones. Coming into our seated twist Marichasana here. So we'll have the left toes flexed towards our face. We're actively pressing that front heel down, drawing it against the stickiness of our yoga mat back in towards ourselves. So our hamstrings are actively working here. As you inhale, right arm reaches up and overhead. You're lengthening through the entire right side of the waist. You spin the hand behind your sitting bone. Left arm lifts as you inhale, and as you exhale, you're hooking the elbow across the thigh. Find the weight equally in both of your sitting bones, and as you inhale from your seat, lengthen up through crown of the head, grow taller through the spine. As you exhale, start to draw the chest open towards the right side. And we'll stay for our last few rounds of breath here. Actively working with our own breath cycle to take ourselves a little bit deeper into the twist. And as I always like to remind you, but it's especially worth saying with more advanced students, that you always want to prioritize the sensations in your spine rather than cranking your head around. So it's helpful to actually close the eyes to give us a little bit more of a feel for what's going on in the spine. And gently from here, release your top arm. Bring both hands over to the outside of your left thigh, and then bow down, forehead towards the ground as you exhale. Inhale to come back up. Allow your right knee to open out to the side. Keep your front foot flexed. We're coming into the side bend variation of Janushirshasana, so forehead to knee pose. You can have your left hand to the inside of your front knee, right arm reaching up and overhead. It's a great position. If you wanted to go a little bit further, you can bend your bottom elbow. Maybe the entire left forearm can come to the floor. Or if you wanted to take it even further than that, the left arm goes to the opposite knee. You draw your left shoulder towards the ground and see if you can reach your right arm all the way towards the outer edge of your front foot. Still spinning the center of your chest towards the ceiling as much as you can so that you deepen that stretch along the right side of the body for your last few rounds of breath in any variation that you're in. Very gently from here as you inhale, we'll use the right arm to bring ourselves all the way back up to seated, releasing anything that's underneath us. We spin forward to face the front of our mat, and we're going to roll through our spine a few times. Hands can be underneath the knees here. And eventually, on your next rock, you're going to bring both feet to the floor and make your way into chair pose, Utkatasana, drawing the sitting bones down and back, spinning the pinky fingers in towards one another. As you exhale, swan dive all the way back into your legs. Now, options here, you could step back into downward dog and stay there, or rest in child's pose. Otherwise, we come through a vinyasa from here, hands flat to the floor. Soften the knees as you exhale. Come back into your Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale into the back bend of your choice, maybe upward facing dog. And exhale back, either via the knees or one straight line to downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. On an exhale, soften the knees, take the gaze forward towards your hands, walk, step or jump the feet to the front of your mat. Inhale, lift halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold into your legs, Uttanasana. Soft knees as you inhale, take the arms all the way up and overhead into your standing back bend if you wish. And exhale, release the hands down by your side. Shift your weight across into your left leg. Draw the right knee into the chest and flex the right toes towards the shin. As you exhale, press your hands and heel away from you. Hover there just for a brief moment in your Hasta Padangusthasana variation. And then float the foot all the way back, hands by the sides of the hips, into Warrior 3. Transitioning here, we'll hinge forward from the hips to draw the chest a little bit closer towards our standing leg. The hands can come underneath the shoulders. We're going to point the right toes and reach them up towards the ceiling. The left arm can come behind the calf, which gives you a little bit more traction to draw the chest closer towards the standing leg. And again, if you want to make this more about strengthening and less about flexibility, you could make your right fingertips light and maybe over time bind the right hand behind the left calf as well, and then lift a little bit higher through the top foot if you can without losing your balance. And very gently from here, when you're ready, bring the hands back under the shoulders. In slow motion, step your top foot back into a runner's lunge, lifting the center of your chest forward. press into the hands in your back foot to retract the right foot. Point it all the way to the back of the room. Reach through your big toe into that three-legged dog, and then bend the top knee to allow your knee to point up towards the ceiling and bring yourself into split dog, keeping as much as you can your shoulders in one line. So for most of us, that usually means drawing the right shoulder slightly forward, left shoulder moving back in space. As you exhale, draw the left knee in towards the chest into tiger's curl. So shoulders on top of the wrists, really pressing the floor away. As you inhale, release the knee towards the floor, open the chest, retract the shoulder blades towards the spine. And again, pressing into your back foot and the hands. As you exhale, draw the knee in, press the floor away, actively working into this version of a forward fold. As you inhale, open the chest. Exhale, retract the knee in, strengthening the muscles in the core body. And final time, as you inhale, release the knee down very gently. Again, option one to stay here. You could come onto your fingertips. You can walk the back foot a little bit further back to come deeper into this version of pigeon pose. Or you can spin your left foot forward, drawing very actively your left toes towards the shin bone so that you're protecting your knee joint, and then you can untuck your back toes. Again, if you are supporting the hip in a more passive version, then you'll slide whatever you need to underneath your left hip bone so that you can square off the hips towards the front of the mat. If you're coming into this active version with me, then from here with the left toes still actively flexing towards the shin bone, we start to draw our front shin bone towards the back knee. We can be on our fingertips either side of the hips here, or bring the hands to touch in front of the chest. And we embrace the struggle, we embrace that engagement of the muscles, the contraction that holds us here, which protects our hip joint and keeps it healthy for longer. And gently as you exhale, release the hands down to the floor. And from here, we'll roll on to our sitting bones, but I'm going to spin myself around so that I'm not facing away from you. We're going to draw the left knee into the chest. And again, if you had that support underneath your sitting bones, use it here as well. Slide your rolled up blanket underneath your seat and flex the right toes very actively towards yourself, preparing for Marichyasana. So inhale, lift your left fingertips up towards the ceiling, spin the hand behind the sitting bones. Inhale, right arm lifts, lengthen right side of the waist, and then draw the right elbow across your thigh. Again, find your sitting bones first. Make sure that they're both equally grounded. As you inhale, from the sitting bones all the way through all 17 vertebrae in the spine, you're going to grow taller towards the ceiling. As you exhale, you twist the chest open towards the left side. And again, working with the breath for your last few rounds of breath here. And again, maybe you close the eyes completely so that you can shift your attention and awareness into the sensations that are going on in your spine. Not working into any pain or pinching. And very gently on your next inhale, open the eyes, unravel your top arm, plant both hands across to the outside of your right thigh and bow down to derotate the spine. Inhale to come back up. From here, allow your left knee to open out to the side. Again, our front toes are still flexed towards the shin, so if you've let them flop out, remind yourself. Right hand to the inside of the right knee. Left arm reaches up and over into that side bend. Option one to stay here with the bottom arm straight, or you could bring the forearm to the floor. Again, if you want to go a little bit deeper, the right hand reaches to the opposite knee, and you might be able to bring your right shoulder closer to the ground, and then maybe reaching left arm to the outer edge of your front foot, spinning the center of your chest open, maybe even lifting the gaze towards the ceiling if that is available and comfortable to you. So we're never going beyond what our body is willing to do. And always focusing and prioritizing really that stretch along the left side of the body. With your next inhale, use the top arm to bring yourself all the way back up to seated. We can remove whatever we're sat on, lifting both knees into the chest. We'll have a few rocks through the spine with the hands underneath our knees. And again, here we're using the legs to build that momentum. And we can have another second attempt if we didn't do it the first time to plant the feet to the floor and find our way into our chair pose. Sitting bones are heavy. Spin the pinky fingers in, lift the gaze just a fraction, and exhale, swan dive back into the legs. Again, yogi's choice, you can stay here. You can step back into your you can't stay here, but you can step back into your downward facing dog, have a rest in child's pose, or float through a vinyasa with me, in which case, from here we plant the feet to the floor. Aiming to stay as low to the ground as possible, we're going to jump straight into our chaturanga. Exhale. Inhale into the back bend. Our Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, upward facing dog. And exhale, either rolling over the toes or via the knees, coming back into our downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. On an exhale, bend your knees, take your gaze forward towards the hands. Again, yogi's choice to walk, step, or jump the feet forward as you exhale. Inhale to lift halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to fold back in, Uttanasana. As you inhale, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. From here, step your right foot all the way to the back of the mat. Release the knee, untuck your back toes. Bring the hands onto your hips into a low lunge. 3 times here with the breath, we're going to come into an active stretch. So press into the top of your back foot. Inhale to lift the back knee. Exhale to soften the knee back to the floor. Inhale, lift up. Exhale to soften down. One final time. Inhale, lifts. Exhale, softens. Then bring both hands to the inside of your front foot. Walk your left foot to the outer edge of the mat, and you can allow your toes to turn out by about 5 to 10 degrees as long as your front kneecap is pointing in the same direction as your second and third toes. We're going to come into our lizard lunge here. So for a moment, tuck your back toes under and lift the back knee again, and then have a little rock forward and back so that you're pressing into and out of your back foot. Limbering into your hip joint, easing into your fascia, the connective tissue of your muscles. And then bring the back knee down when you're ready. Untuck your back toes. Option 1 is to stay really tall here. You can stay on fingertips. You could soften the elbows, maybe even come onto your forearms. Whatever is easily accessible to you and will allow you to soften the center of your chest towards the floor and breathe easy for your last few rounds of breath here. As we hopefully find just a little bit of stillness, a little bit of a connection back into our breath. And of course, if you want to engage that sort of visualization of the breath that we practiced in our last class, then this is the time to do it. Gently here, one hand at a time comes underneath your shoulders. We'll lift the back foot towards the sitting bone. Now, optional to stay here in this active variation where you're really strengthening the hamstring and lengthening the muscles in the front of the leg. Otherwise, you could press into your right hand and reach the left hand back for the outer or inner edge of the foot, and then draw the foot towards the sitting bone so that you come a little bit deeper into the passive version of that stretch, in a twisted lizard version. Without pinging your foot, release it, tuck the back toes under, and exhale to step all the way forward into your standing forward bend. Take the feet wider than your mat so that you're in a wide-legged forward fold, shifting a little bit of your body weight into the balls of your feet. Bring your weight into your left hand, lift the right arm onto your sacrum, so that last bit of bone on your spine. Make sure that the hips are fairly level with one another, so you're not dipping into one side or the other, but equal weight in both feet. Spin the right shoulder open towards the ceiling, and then optional to bring your right hand towards the opposite hip for a half bind variation. Center of the chest spins open. Maybe you're lifting your gaze up towards the ceiling if that doesn't put any strain on the neck or your breath. Gently release the top hand under its own shoulder on the floor. Left arm lifts as you inhale. Again, hand goes onto the sacrum first so that we can open the left shoulder and also establish if we're dipping into one hip or the other. Maybe at that point you can go again for that half bind, left hand reaching towards the opposite hip. We're spinning the left shoulder open, lifting the center of the chest, maybe even looking up towards the ceiling, as long as we can keep breathing evenly, softly. And gently unravel the top hand. From here, bring the feet hip distance underneath you. You can heel toe or step the feet together. Lengthen the spine as you inhale. Halfway. Exhale to fold back into the legs. From here, we'll step the left foot back, releasing the back knee down and untucking the back toes for our low lunge active stretch variation. So the hands come onto the hips. Pressing into the back foot as we inhale, we lift the back knee. Exhale, gently bringing the knee to the floor. 2 more times with the breath here. As you inhale, lift. Exhale to release. Final one. As you come down here, bring both hands to the inside of your right foot. Walk the outer edge of your right foot to the outer edge of your mat. Allow your toes to turn out just about 5 to 10 degrees. Make sure that your front kneecap is pointing in the same direction as second and third toe. So we're keeping our knee joints safe and healthy here. And again, back toes tuck under. We lift the back knee and have a little shimmy forward and back into that pulsating movement that limbers us and gets us ready for our lizard lunge, easing into that connective tissue of the muscles. Gently, when you're ready, find stillness. Of course, you can always keep the knee lifted if you prefer that version of lizard lunge. Otherwise, hands can stay under the shoulders. You can stay in this taller variation with the center of the chest drawing forward. Or you could soften the elbows. Maybe you're even coming onto your forearms. As long as whichever option you've chosen allows you to still breathe, allows you to find a little bit of softness, stillness. Maybe you're able to focus back in on the breath, back in on that visualization of the breath. And from here, bringing one hand at a time back underneath the shoulders, drawing our left heel towards the left sitting bone, and either staying with this active version, or we bring the left hand to the floor, reach the right arm back to the outer edge or inner edge of the foot, and then see if we can draw the foot a little bit closer towards that same side sitting bone so that we are opening and working a little bit deeper into the muscle tissue, the front of the left leg in our twisted lizard lunge. Gently, without pinging the foot, we release it. From here, back toes tuck under, and as we exhale, we step the back foot forward, feet as wide as the mat. For a moment, you can grab hold of opposite elbows and have a little hang between the legs. You can always bend the knees as much as you need to get the belly onto the thighs, and then have a little sway side to side to release the spine. Have a little nod of the head, yes, to ease any tension in the neck muscles. Maybe have a little shake of the head, no. And then find stillness in the center and change the cross of your forearms here for a moment. If you wanted to, you could work into straightening your legs here. Maybe you're aiming your elbows towards the floor. Now from here, I'll come into the center of the mat to show you. So we'll have the feet shoulder distance. Again, the toes turn out by about 5 to 10 degrees. And option 1 is to come into Malasana garland pose. So you would allow your hips to come down into yogi squat. If your heels are very high off the floor, then you could of course support them with a brick, larger book, or maybe your rolled up blanket. If the heels are all the way down, then you can already place your elbows to the inside of your knees, the hands come together at the heart center, and you're sort of very, very lightly pressing into the knees and then resisting that by pressing the knees back into your elbows, so that you're very actively engaging the muscles around the hips and in your thighs. That's option 1. If you have a more advanced practice, then we'll take this into firefly pose, Tadasana. So we'll have to lift our hips up again. And to prepare for Tadasana, we really have to come a little bit beyond the regular forward fold. So we really have to take the feet about as wide as the mat and then work our shoulders as far underneath our knees as we can. The hands come behind your heels onto the floor, and then see if you can rest your thighs on top of your elbows to begin with. Find a focal point just ahead of you. Now, option 1 is to stay here. Option 2, you could see if you can cross your feet in front of you and hover them above the floor. And option 2 is to reach your big toes forward, really press the floor away and extend through the legs if that's available to you for full Tadasana. And you can stay just for a couple of rounds of breath. And when you're ready to, you can release the feet down, lift the hips to release your arms in front of you, and then for a moment, bring the palms underneath your feet. Have a little sort of pedal through the feet to massage the hands and release your wrists a bit. Shifting a little bit of weight forward into the balls of the feet. And gently release the hands when you're ready. Bend the knees. If you're already in garland pose, we'll meet you on the floor with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor, hip distance, slowly rolling all the way onto our back body. Once you get there, let your spine settle into the mat for a moment so that you have that slight lift of the lower back away from the floor and the slight lifting of the neck as well. Then gently, when you're ready, from here, straighten the left leg along the mat. Take your arms out either side of your shoulders. Press into the ball of your right foot so that you can shimmy your way onto the left hip, and then bring that the right knee into the chest as if you were coming into a recovery position. The arms stay as they are, and you could stay here in this version of a reclined twist. You can keep the chin between your collarbones, or let the gaze travel to the right thumb so that you are taking your neck into a counter twist to the spine. If you wanted to go a little bit further, you could take this into a pose that is referred to as the cat pulling its own tail in yin practice. So you could start by extending your top leg. Maybe you're even able to catch the foot or big toe with your left hand. And if you wanted to go a little bit further, you can bend your bottom foot and see if you can catch that with your right hand. And then you can again see if you can take the gaze over your right shoulder, finding a little bit of stillness. Let the right shoulder soften towards the floor, let the chest spin open, and maybe you're able to bring a little bit more distance between the feet by pressing them away from each other. But choosing an option that allows you to keep the breath really soft and allows you to find a couple of moments of stillness here in this reclined twist. So not always straining to do the most advanced posture, but really working within what's available to us right now. And then very gently releasing the left foot without pinging it. Retracting the right knee into the chest and then planting the foot down so that you can spin all the way onto your back body to begin with. Then straighten the right foot forward, bend the left knee. Again, the arms are out at shoulder height, and we press into the sole of the left foot to bring ourselves all the way onto the right hip. We can start by bringing the left knee in front of the chest first. Optional to, of course, take the gaze towards our left thumb. If we wanted to twist the neck in the opposite direction to the spine. And if you're taking this a little bit further, you could straighten your top leg. You might be able to catch that foot with your right hand. If you wanted to go even further than that, you could bend your right knee and then see if you can catch the inner edge of that foot with your left hand. Just as long as you can keep the chest spinning open towards the ceiling and you're able to come back to your natural breath rhythm. So at this point in your practice, you're not holding on to any yogic breathing practices such as pranayama, ujjayi pranayama. You're really allowing your breath to settle into its natural rhythm again. And seeing if we can just settle into the pose for a couple of moments of stillness. And then gently, when you're ready, releasing the left foot to begin with. Sorry, the right foot. And then pressing into your arms to draw the left knee into the chest. Bring the foot to the floor so that you can shimmy your way all the way onto your backside. Release both legs to the front of the mat, and for a moment just allow the body to rest down and connect into the ground. And for a moment here, we'll bring the feet to touch. We'll point the toes to the front of the mat and reach the arms all the way up and overhead, lengthening through the entire body as you inhale, making yourself as long as you possibly can. And as you exhale, drawing one knee into the chest at a time, you can hug the knees in with your arms. Maybe for a moment, you're lifting the shoulders and head towards the knees, rounding the spine, and then releasing the shoulders and head back down. You might have a little rock side to side to massage the back of the body against the floor. Yogi's choice here. You could either roll over to your right side and gently make your way up to a seated position, or you could have the hands under the shins, building momentum with the legs as you rock through the spine until you make your way up to any comfortable seat. So you could have the shins crossed, you could have the ankles or heels in one line. Finding the weight in your sitting bones, sit nice and tall through the crown of your head, bring the palms to touch in front of the center of your chest. Bow the forehead towards the fingertips and give yourself just a brief moment of gratitude, giving yourself thanks for showing up on your yoga mat today and dedicating this time to yourself. And then planting your sankalpa, your little seed of positive intention for maybe just the rest of your day today or your week. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. So thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even felt a little bit challenged. If you have any questions or feedback, pop those in the comment section down below. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell all your friends and family about it, help me spread the good word, you know the drill. If you wanted to find me anywhere else online, all of that information is in the video description below, and hopefully I will see you back on your mat next week when we'll be diving into some of the more advanced postures in our next sequence. So I hope to see you then, yogi. Bye.